YouTube, what's going on? Bird coming at you. I want to talk today about fire starters. Give you something real easy, and the two fire starters that I use the most when I'm out in the woods fishing or just trying to start an easy fire. Now, once again today, I posted a video today about doing the best that I could to try to start a natural fire. I ended up using my own cotton balls because they're just the easiest way to go, even with a pharo rod. A lot of backpackers use them, so I want to take the time to show you how I build mine. Alright, now we have two fire starters today. We have the cotton balls soaked in Vaseline. I'm sure that you guys seen it. There's a lot of videos on how to do it. I'm going to try to explain the best way that I know to make these. There's a lot of videos. A lot of people say to actually like melt the Vaseline in a pot and then dip your cotton ball in that. That is not the right way to go, so we're going to go over that tonight. That's just for a regular fire that I would use, you know, something very simple as far as like a pharo rod or something like that. But say you had like some thicker firewood that is really hard to catch and that you would have to be using several cotton balls to use. I would use something like this, the classic egg carton lint fire starter. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but we're going to show you how to make both, so stay tuned. Okay guys, let's start off with the cotton balls. We're going to keep this super simple. I'm sure that you guys can look up on YouTube anyone else that's making them. This is just my take on it. A lot of people tell you to dunk the cotton balls, actually like melt it down in the petroleum jelly in like a pan. I don't really find that necessary because I actually did it with this one and it didn't work out too well. It doesn't catch a spark easy. So what you want to do, like I said, this is just my opinion, is to soak them in the petroleum jelly, but not so much that you have to melt them and actually dip them in, because they're not going to catch a spark. They still need to be fluffy. They don't want to look like this. This was my first take on them. Not saying that these don't work, but so anyways, we'll just get into this, alright? So what you want to do, this is the most cleanest and easiest way to do this. Stick your hand right in the bag, flip it inside out. What I like to do, grab a hefty amount here. I mean, you know, as you can tell, see? Alright, and then what you want to do is flip it back inside out on itself here, okay? And just take a couple cotton balls. I mean, you don't have to fill the bag, you just have to go by feel and see how actually like saturated they get. So we'll just start out with something like this, okay? Now that you have the bag inside out, what you want to do is seal it up nice. And just kind of swish them around. I gotta take the air out of them a little bit here. There we go. And just kind of swish them around in that Vaseline. Get them saturated. Now, you don't need to use a whole bunch because what you want with these cotton balls is to keep them you know, a little bit fluffy. You don't want them too saturated like I was saying with these. I don't know if you can tell by the look of those or not, but they're pretty saturated. So what you kind of want is something like this. Something a little bit more white and fluffy. Even though that there's still Vaseline in it, you can still kind of work the fibers and kind of pull them out, and it's easy to catch a strike with the pharo rod. So mix this around a little bit more. Okay, and then there's that. So here they are. We got them soaked in the Vaseline. I'm going to seal these back up completely. Make sure all the air is out of them. Alright, then seal these up. Okay, now we're going to set these aside and we're going to set them on fire when we get outside, okay? But for now, here's these ones being made, so there's those. Remember, these ones are saturated, these ones are not, okay? Okay, now that we talked about the Vaseline, so cotton balls, now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to one of my favorites, okay? This fire starter is amazing. It can burn for 25 to 30 minutes all by itself, depending on how you pack the lint in these egg cartons and how much wax you use. So let's talk about the egg carton lint fire starter. This thing is awesome, all right? This is one of the first things that I started doing before I did anything with bushcraft or whatever else. I literally just did this so I can go fishing and be able to light a fire so easy, okay? So here it is. As you can tell, it's just a egg carton and stuffed with a little bit of wax and lint, okay? So what we're going to do, I actually have some packed up for you right now. As you've seen before or whatever, they're packed with lint. All it needs is the actual wax, okay? See, there it is. Okay, so one of the first things that you're going to want to do is you're going to cut these flaps off because you don't need them, all right? Then after we do that, I'm going to get right back to you. But before we do that, you also need something to melt them on. So what I have is this awesome little portable stove. This is what I'm going to be using to do my little instructional, if you will. But this is all I have. This is a candle that has obviously been burnt down, and I have no use for it anymore, as well as these. Now, the great thing about these is after we melt them, believe it or not, when you're sitting outside and you're at the campfire, this actually repels mosquitoes. Sometimes the scent, I'm not saying that it will be all mosquitoes, but it will repel the scent a little bit, and it will help you out with the mosquitoes. So what you want to do is you want to find something, some kind of wax. We're going to melt this all together, okay? So I'm going to use this, and we got to put it in some stationary pot that we're going to be pouring all this melted wax into our egg cartons right here. So once this all melts down, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so what you want to do for your fire starters is to once you have these cut off, what you want to do is you want to start melting your wax, okay? Like I said, I got this nice little burner here. All right, let's turn this on. What you want to do is you want to start heating up the water, okay? And then you'll take whatever you're melting your wax in, okay, and just stick it right in the fire. We're doing a little double burn right here. We got some heated water in here, okay? We're just going to stick this right in here so we can start melting that wax up. Get back to you in a second after this is done. Alright guys, so I left one not cut off and one cut off, so I can show you this real quick. After you cut off these tabs, alright, these are the self-locking tabs right here, obviously, like for the actual eggs. You're not going to need any of this, okay? So what you want to do is remove this part, just like I did this. So you're just going to take a knife and do this edge real quick. You should never be cutting towards you, but I mean, obviously, as long as you're confident in not cutting yourself, then you should be alright. So the next thing that you want to do is these parts right here, they're pretty much useless too. So you want to cut them off as well. We'll cut them off. Set them to the side. So we have this. Set that aside. So what you're left with is these two. Still waiting for the wax to melt. Get back to you in a second. Okay guys, so what you're left with after you double boil your wax is something that looks like this. You know what I mean? Something, it's basically just, it's melted wax that you double boiled. Now, what I found with these is that you don't want to overfill them, okay? So, I have my cardboard laid out just in case you're doing this inside, because it does get messy if you don't know what you're doing. I've done this like 2 or 3 times, but you never know. Could get messy, so I'm about to find out. So anyways, we're going to start off with this one right here, and what we want to do is like I said, you don't have to fill it up completely with wax. That's what a lot of people mistake for, okay? What you want to do is, as long as you have your lint packed tight and the right pack in it, you want to do probably about half of the lint, okay? Just so if you were using a pharo rod or something like that, that it wasn't completely submerged in wax. That way that there's a little bit like possibly like sticking up or something like this, so it could catch the wax and catch a spark and maintain that spark so we can keep a fire. So anyways, we're about to get into this and dump a little bit of wax on here, and I'll show you how to do it, okay? So we have these packed up nice and tight, and we're going to do the best that we can to fill it up about halfway. That's what I'm saying. That's what we should do, okay? Other people have different opinions and all that. But before we do that, let's get some safety first. We'll use a towel because this wax is super hot. Alright, like I said, I got my cardboard down here, so should be alright. Grab it with a towel and just gently pour. Try not to make too much of a mess. We'll do the first one here. First one. Now, as you can see, here I'm going to move this camera towards a little bit. As you can see, when you actually pour this, the wax kind of like melts down a little bit. The lint is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Move a little closer. There we go. Let's move this one aside. Okay, ready? Here's this one. Halfway. Let it soak in a little bit. I don't know if you guys see that or not. Halfway, let it soak in. We're just going to basically do that to all of them. You don't have to be too particular in it, you know. Gonna get a little bit of wax over the side, no big deal. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the next one. This one we're gonna do a straight shot. We're gonna do a row. See what happens here. Try to fill it up about halfway every time. Nice. That was a good shot. So, as you can see, move this back real quick. Alright, so here we go. Here's what we got. Now, you can count every single egg carton for basically a fire. You can either put these in the freezer or set them somewhere cold for the time being and let them cure up a little bit, and see what happens. And then what I like to do is, I actually like to freeze mine. So when you freeze them, alright, they actually break off. You can break them off in twos and then break them off into single pieces, and then you can actually use these. These will burn for a good 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, just by themselves. So if you can't get a fire started beyond that, then I don't know what to tell you, but this is the best way that I know how to make fires, and this is the best homemade fire starter that I can give you guys. Once again, this is how they look when they're done. This is me like breaking them off, you know what I mean, after they're frozen or whatever else. So if you like the video, give me a like, and I'll see you on the outside.